What's up, everybody? Welcome to the High Level Husband Podcast. I'm Tommy McCollister by myself today. And today we're talking about how to finish the year strong. Now, maybe you listen to this and it's the beginning of the year, mid-year next year, whenever you hear this. But right now at this recording, it is October 9th of 2025. And so this is how to finish this year strong. But this goes for any years. And all these same principles apply whether you're in January, February, March, or April. But the same things now. And it's like, let's get after it. One of the things that frustrates me so much in men's lives is their dragging of their feet. And one of the cool themes that I've been just going through, God is so good. And I could tell you crazy stories about what God's been doing in my life this past week. I'm going to refrain, but basically I'll just tell you this. I had a bookmark inside of my Bible. I finished Matthew. It took me 3 months to go through Matthew because I was only going through 4 to 8 verses at a time and just taking about 45 minutes for each of those verses and just dissecting them and just learning so much. But then I was like, God, where am I going to go next? And then I was scrolling to the Old Testament because I was going to go to Jeremiah, and I found a bookmark in Haggai I placed it 8 months ago. And here's the cool thing. I don't think I read Haggai at that time. And if I did, I don't remember anything about it. And it's just been so on point. It's changed my life this week. And it's just so good. Now, I'm not going through Haggai with you on here. I'm actually going to do that next week. And so you might hear that little bit of that story again. But there's a line in here that's just so important. And basically, God had called the Israelites out of, they'd been exiled for 70 years. They're going back to rebuild the temple. And at that point, they started rebuilding. They had all this fire, like most of you guys get at the beginning of the year, like, oh, I'm going to do this. I'm going to start this thing. And then you quit because whatever happens, distractions, life gets busy, hardship, something happens and you stop doing what you were called to do. Just as the Israelites did with this temple, they were pumped. God provided for them, but then they stopped because of the pressures of the times at that time in their life. And it says right here, this is what the Lord Almighty says. These people say the time has not yet come to rebuild the Lord's house. And my point with telling you that verse right there is how many of you said this? I'm just in a season of my life right now. Once my kids get a little bit older, then I'll be able to have more time to, focus on myself or focus on my relationship with God. Or when I get more money, then I can do X, Y, and Z, or whatever it may be. You have all of these things that you say. And because of that, you're making excuses. But I'm here to tell you this right now. Stop dragging your feet. God never one time said, hey, I got this mission for you. It's going to be awesome. There's going to be so much fruit on the back end of it. But guess what? I just need you to be fully prepared for the trip, and then I'm going to send you to do it. He never once said that ever. Remember when he sent the apostles out? What did he say? He sent them out 2 by 2, and he said, bring nothing with you. Not even an extra pair of sandals, no extra clothes, nothing. Bring nothing with you. He didn't say, all right, I'm sending you out 2 by 2. Now here's a bag of cash. Here's some extra clothes. Make sure you bring snacks and food because you never know what you're going to be running into. Jesus says, he never says you never know, because guess what? He knows. If he calls you to it, he will see you through it. So everything you should have been doing in this year leading up to this point, you should be doing because God called you to do it. Or are you doing these things because you wanted to do it? So the very first thing you need to do to finish this year strong is, what did God call me to do this year? And what did I ask myself that I needed to do this year? Because if it's you, that's how your life got complicated and overrun. That's why God didn't provide in the season for you on it. And that's why there's no fruit from it, right? Is it of you or is it of God? Because you've probably heard me say this before. I always tell people is, they're always overwhelmed. They're always busy and all this other stuff. And I go, do you not think that God has given you enough time in the day to accomplish every single thing that he wants you to accomplish? And everybody goes, well, yeah. And I said, so why are you overwhelmed or busy? And here's the reason why. Because we do things that we want to do, not what God's asked us to do. And you're not a bad person. Sometimes that might be providing extra for your family. Sometimes that might even be you trying to become a pastor. But did God ask you to be a pastor? Because being a pastor is actually a bad thing if God didn't ask you to do it. Not all good things are good things. Only good things are good things if God asked you to do those good things. And that's just the facts, and that's the truth. Right? The reason why I have fruit in what I do in this podcast, my social media, my coaching, and why those transformations happen at such big levels is because God called me to this. And so he just uses me as, I don't want to say his puppet, but kind of, to be able to do all the things that I'm doing for him. he's doing through me. So first, number one is take a look at your life and ask, what am I doing right now in my life that's of myself? And what am I doing right now that is of God? And if it's of yourself, sit back and ask yourself, what can I do to stop doing this right now? Are there just certain things that I can choose? Now, you might be coaching a football team or something else like that, and you just can't quit on your team in the middle of the season. But at least you know and you plan ahead, okay, once this season's done, I'm not coaching basketball or I'm not coaching whatever's next. Start putting those preparations in play. But if it's something that you're doing right now where it's like, man, I'm going through Yellowstone or whatever TV series, and I do that every night and I spend about 2.5 hours doing it, you know what? I can stop, because you don't need to see what happens. Your life will not change if you see what happens at the end of that series. Nothing will change in your life. Not one thing, 0%. You'll get a little high in the moment, but that's it. But it's not going to change your life, right? So you can stop doing those things, right? You've signed up for a golf tournament. Stop doing the golf tournament. There's things like, I'm just throwing spitballing ideas out there for you. There's things that you can stop doing, right? For yourself. Or maybe you're starting to work towards a degree in something or whatnot like that. Did God ask you to, or did you? You got to figure out what's one of those are, because I only do things that God asks me to do. And because of that, my life is incredibly simple, because he just tells me to do these X, Y, and Z. And that's all I do. And so my point of saying this is right here is these people will say this time has not yet come to rebuild the Lord's house. Who said that? God didn't say that. He told them to go rebuild their house. And what was cool, I don't want to get too deep into this story because I'm actually going to touch on this next week in the podcast. But my point of saying is this, like, stop making excuses. Do it or do not. Do or do not. Stop saying, well, when? Do it. And if it is of God, do it now. Abraham rose early in the morning. You know what's really cool about Abraham? And I just had this revelation earlier. God will press in on us in areas where he's trying to provide. He'll press in where he's trying to provide. Abraham, God promised him he'd be the father of all nations, right? Well, what did he do? He held out on Abraham for 90 years with children. Then he gave Abraham, said basically he was going to have kids. And so Abraham took it in his own hands, him and his wife. And then she told him to sleep with the handmaid. She sleeps with the slave girl, right? He sleeps with her. Then there's all this turmoil because that's not what God wanted to do. God said, I have this promise for you. You just took it in your own hand and you tried to speed it up. No. So then he has Isaac, right? The correct way. My point was saying that is, so he pressed in on him there. There was some disobedience there. But what he did was he said, I want you to sacrifice Isaac, his biggest idol in his life. Well, he had already promised him to be the father of all nations, right? And he's like, well, now you want me to sacrifice my only son? Or I had 2 sons, but my son that I love, actually one was Sarah. He said, yep. Of course, you guys know how the story plays out. Abraham rises early in the morning to go and do it. He doesn't wait, none of that. He goes and does it, right? Well, he was going to do it, but he had faith that God would provide, because he said, we will be back. But he had faith God would provide. And God did provide. He didn't make him do it. He was testing him. And because of that, he had 2 sons at that time, one legitimately and one illegitimately. And because of his legitimate son, guess what he did? Because of his obedience, he's made him the father of all nations. That's billions, right? From his one obedience. But he'll press in on us where he's calling us. He'll press in where he's trying to provide. So oftentimes in your life right now, he's trying to press in an area of your life where he's trying to provide. He's testing to see if you're ready. Because he who can be trusted with little can be trusted with many. So he's testing you. He's refining you. He's getting used to the pressures of the new, whatever he has for you. I was just telling this to a client today because this dude owns 2 locations of his business. And I said, bro, if you opened 8 more locations right now, you would not be ready to do it. You'd probably make it work, but it would pressure, it would crumble, it wouldn't go successful because that's now going 4 times more. But if you're going to go anything more right now, go for another location or maybe 2, right? And that's not in his vision plan right now as of this moment, but I was using it for example. We can't go crazy. So God has to prepare us for what he has for us. Me and Diane saw this early in in our coaching, man, we came out the gate hot. We were throwing money at it. We were like all in and working our butt off. And it was like, God, why aren't you providing like all these clients for us? We had the transformations. We had all of this. But I still at that time looking back, man, I am like a tenth of a coach that I am now. God was like, no, I can't give you abundance of clients right now because the clients will also come with revenue, bigger team. You don't know how to run a team. You're just learning to still run yourself in your house. I can't give you a team to run then. He said, then it's also going to have more revenue. I don't think you're going to steward it correctly and it will pull you off course. And then third, you'll destroy yourself because the way you hold yourself to such high standards and care so much about the people you work with, you won't be able to actually transform their lives at the levels that you want to because you're not qualified for it yet and ready for it yet. So I can't give you too many of them. So he gave me just amount, right, to keep us ahead above water, just going until here we are, right? But he had to push in where he knew he was providing for us. So I want you to take a peek at that on it. So the next step is this right here. I want you to just be like, to step back also. Before we even go even further, like what the next steps are to make this a successful year, what is your ultimate goal? Because I was just, I'm gonna have a conversation with the guy, but he's interested. He's going out. He works. I'll say this way. He works in the pharmaceutical industry, making just below 200 grand a year. Very good money. Doesn't like his job. Doesn't hate his job. Doesn't love his job. Doesn't like what he sells to these doctors and things like that, but it pays good money. Just not really all into it, but it provides a good living for his family, right? And for himself. He's being called in another direction. And because he's being called in another direction, that other direction will require all in. That means he would have to walk away from a $200,000 a year salary to another, which will probably be about, I think it's going to be probably 140, 150 grand a year. So it's going to be about, but it's not for sure, right? Because it's commission based. And it's completely in a different field, but it's 100% in ministry and it's something that he will absolutely love being called to. He's been dabbling his toes in it. But then, of course, his normal job is getting busier and he's making more money and it's getting busier. And he's thinking about pulling back over here on where the calling is being called to because he's getting busier and making more money over here. My advice to him is this, and this is what I'm going to tell him. What's the end game? Just to make more money? Because what did it say here in Haggai? These people say the time has not yet come to rebuild the Lord's house. He'll probably say that same thing. I just don't know if the time's come yet to do that. Let me stack up some more money first. Let me pay off some debt. We just getting our feet under us. Let me do this. But I'm like, are you feeling called to this other thing? I think so, but I'm not 100% sure. Well, let's get the clarity on that and we'll figure that out. Well, how do you figure that out? Spending more time with God. More time in the Word and more time with Him, and not just Sunday and not just a couple minutes. You're going to have to go deep daily, at least an hour a day with God, mixed in with Bible. That's like you in the Word and in solitude, but preferably two. And you'll get clarity really, really quick. But you see, he's dipping his toes in, whereas Abraham was willing to go all in, and he got to become father of all nations. So maybe right now the financial pay is less for him on that other side. But maybe the internal pay, the peace, the joy, the transformation that comes from that, the purpose, is far more than even millions could pay in the other one. And maybe he even gets millions from the other one. I don't know. But we have to ask ourselves, what is the ultimate goal? Like, what's the end game? Do I want to be doing ministry? Because you already know the purpose of life is Mark 12:30. Love God with all your heart, all your soul, all your mind, and all your strength. Love all, right? So, and the whole purpose of life is to love God, love others, and create disciples of all nations using our talents and our testimony. So if we get to do that all day, man, we're stoked, right? And so that's what we're doing. That which one is doing that? Is working for the pharmaceutical company doing that? Or is it this other one? Now, I'm not saying you can't disciple people in the pharmaceutical thing. And that's where God might call some people to be in that industry, to be around other people, to influence people who have a lot of evil in their products, to maybe change hearts? Absolutely. Maybe it's with somebody else. Sorry, I'm just putting my phone on silence here so nobody calls me, making sure that doesn't happen. Um, Maybe it's you're still in that, and then all the customers you're talking to, you're discipling them. That can absolutely happen. That doesn't mean because you only can do ministry when you're only in a ministry position. You can do ministry whether you work for a gas station, you're an airline pilot, wherever you are, you can do this, or you're in pharmaceutical sales. But we just have to make sure that that's where God asked us to be, and what is the vision and the goal, and how that plays into our whole family and the end game of what we're striving for. And that striving for needs to be bigger than we can ever ask or imagine. So when I tell you this is like, what decisions are you making? Is it of God or is it of yourself? And what is your ultimate goal? You have to get very clear on that. What is your ultimate goal? Because if it's just to save for retirement, send your kids to college, raise good kids, and have experiences along the way, you are driving your car and you're heading for a cliff. Because that's not the purpose of life. God didn't create you just for that. God created you to serve him fully and to take your gifts and talents and create many disciples as you possibly can. Every single decision every day needs to be for him all day long. How is this benefiting him? That's why excellence needs to be one of your core values, where it talks about that in Galatians, where he talks about do everything as if you're doing it for the Lord. So I'm going to jump down into this. I'm just going to make a couple bullet points before I get into what would make this a successful year and things like that. Maybe I'll just come back to this right now. So let's do this. Ask yourself now, the next step is, what would make this a successful year? Over these next 3 months, with the 3 months that I have left, what would make this a successful year? What would be something that I'd be stoked on? I believe God would be stoked on. My family would be stoked on. And that I could really just rest my hat on and be like, yo, I'm pumped on how this year finished out. What would make this a successful year? Get really clear on that. But do that in 4 categories: physically, mentally, spiritually, and relationally. So physically, you should always be getting better. Okay, what does that look like in my health, my diet, my sleep, my working out, all of that? What does that look like? What does my mental game look like? Am I getting more rest and recovery so I'm mentally more on point and have a full cup rather than a half empty cup, right? Am I growing? What am I doing to grow mentally every single day and get stronger? Am I listening to podcasts, sermons? Am I in books? What am I doing to get better in mentally every single day? Am I challenging myself? Am I getting in ice baths? What am I doing? Hard things? What am I doing to get better mentally? Spiritually, what does that look like? Am I spending more time with God? Am I being more obedient to the things he's asked me to do? Am I being way more on my disciplines with being in the word and being at church and fasting and tithing and Sabbathing? Am I getting those all dialed in? What does that look like? And then relationally, what's that look like with being in like a men's group? What does that look like loving on God's people? And what does that look like serving and loving your wife and getting your marriage to so much a far better place? And what does that look like for your kids? What would make this a successful year? I've shared this many of times, but most people think the definition of success is how much money you have and how much fame or notoriety that comes along with it, right? Success is your character and your deep relationship with God. How deep of a relationship with God do you have is the biggest success. And the second one is, who did that make you become? Your character, right? Those are the success, because when you have that, everything else will take care of itself. But if you don't have a deep relationship with God and you don't have high level character, you have no other successes, because you could have all the money you want and all the fame you want, but that doesn't make you successful, because the thing that matters the most is getting to heaven and bringing as many people with you as you can. And secondly, having character that people look up to, and you're not leading people to hell, you're leading people to heaven. I just was talking with a client today, and he was saying, man, I got a chance to like disciple over somebody this past week. And I've only been in person with him a couple of times. He lives in another state, but we got together with a couple of other couples in my family. And when we did, he pulled me aside later and he goes, man, I know we don't know each other all that great, but we spent enough time over the past few years together. Before you even said a word and I walked in the house, I could just tell there's something different about you, and that you are just good. Like you're just so at peace. And he's like, I am. But what happened? Deeper relationship with God, higher levels of character. And it brought all that. This guy also, for many years, runs an 8-figure business. And so why wasn't he feeling that way before? You feel me? So what would make this end of the year a success in those areas, right? But also in those areas. So write that down. Ask yourself, what would make me proud of the way I finished? Focus on finishing on fire and not just checking the boxes. Don't be like, all right, well, I'm going to read 10 more books and and get nothing out of them. Because that's what one year I said I was going to read 24 books in a year. And it came down to the final 6 weeks and I had read 10. And I literally did the last books because I do audio books. I burned through those last ones. And I'll be real with you, I only got a little bit out of it because I was trying to check the box. That's why when I'm going through Matthew, that's why I was only doing 4 to 8 verses. Now, everybody else, I always tell my clients, start with 1 chapter a day, because it kind of does need to be a checking of the box at first, because you just need to develop the habit. Now, you can only do 4 to 8 verses. That's plenty, as long as you're going to spend 45 minutes chewing on them, praying on them, breaking them down, doing all that's totally fine. But most people will read 4 to 8 verses, shut the Bible, and keep it moving. And then those verses didn't do much. Now, is it better than nothing? Absolutely. It's not about doing more. It's about doing the right things with the full intention. Because discipline, you can't create disciples without discipline, right? Because both of those words stem from the same root word. But discipline only happens in place when it's paired with desire. Like, why? People always tell me, Tommy, you're too extreme. Well, you're darn right, because I serve an extremely good God, and he's provided me with an extremely good life after I was living extremely the wrong way and had to go through an extreme amount of pain to get to where I am. But I love him so much, my desire will allow me to be fully disciplined no matter what. No matter what. Will that be for you? So, that's the next step. What would be the next one? What worked well for me this year and what didn't work well? What worked well and what didn't work well? So this is where I always encourage men, because just a lot of the men who come into our program are about 35 to 55. Those are about the ages. We definitely have some people older, and we have a couple that are younger. But I would say that's where the bulk load of people are. Well, ironically enough, that's when life will tell you, that's when midlife crisis happens and you realized this ain't working out for me, right? And so I always encourage all of them. I say, man, you're at halftime right now. Halftime means the first half of the game, you go into the locker room and you're analyzing, okay, what worked from our game plan and what didn't work from our game plan. And then you come back out and you keep the good things and you make those good things even better. And then you take the bad things and you don't do those bad things anymore that weren't working, that were in your game plan. You stop doing them and you give new ones. So now you take what is working good and you increase them. So what's working good for you right now, man? You're on a good diet and you're working out. Okay, how can you increase that? Well, right now, to be honest with you, I'm working out really good and I'm eating really good, but I only sleep about 6 hours a night. Sweet. Find a way to eliminate or delegate to get an extra hour to 2 a night, and you'll see massive benefits. Okay, sweet. Well, right now, what's working really good is that I'm spending an hour. I'm reading a chapter in the Bible and it takes me about 25 minutes. Okay, sweet. Keep the chapter and give your time up to 40 minutes now. Break it down for an extra 15 minutes. You know what I'm saying? Like, take the things that you're doing and just make them a little bit better that are already working. Now, what's not working, stop doing them. If you're watching too much TV, you're scrolling too much on your phone, stop. Cut it out. Right? I watch 2 hours of TV a night. All right, cool. I'm cutting that down to 45 minutes. Stop would be the best, but let's say, hey, we're going to go to 45 minutes. Now you just bought yourself an hour and 15 minutes. That doesn't mean you just go blow on some other BS stuff. All right, I scroll on my phone randomly throughout the day for 2 hours. And I'll be real, I find myself doing this now when I'm on social media. A lot of times I'm trying to learn, get ideas about content creation, different stuff like that I can do on that. But it still will throw in, as I'm seeing that, it'll throw in something else that's like clickbait material. And I'll find myself, a lot of times I'll go to the bathroom. A lot of you guys do. We sit there and we scroll on our phone. Well, I've been done going to the bathroom for 15 minutes, already done. And I'm still sitting there scrolling. And I'm like, well, that was a waste of 15 minutes. Like, you know what I'm saying? So like, I have to catch myself sometimes and be like, whoa, what am I doing? And I'm getting a lot better at that. Like, dude, stop, turn it off. And I remind myself, this isn't making you better. You got to go use this time for something else. And so I've been doing that for more time with God, more time in the Word, and more time soaking up other good things. And it's been really, really beneficial. So stop doing certain things that aren't working. Don't bring broken things, systems in a new season. Get honest. What gave you momentum this year? And what stole momentum from you this year? Keep the momentum going. Never stop that. As that's oftentimes when people say, well, I want balance. There's no such thing as balance, and nothing's better than the other, right? You keep doing the things that are working and you increase the other, right? God's 100% truth, but he's 100% love. He's not like 48% truth and 52% love. No, he's 100 of both. So if you're winning in the physical area, eliminate and delegate some other things so you can win more in the spiritual area, right? That's what you do. That's what I mean. So you don't let off the gas in one area. You find time and you make it in the other area to be able to do it. Now, if you're only winning at work, cut hours at that so you can win in your spiritual area first, then in your emotional and all the other areas with your family and all those other aspects. And so learn from your wins and your wounds. So go through all of that and do it. So what's the next one? What did you say you were going to do but didn't? So at the beginning of this last year, maybe you had some resolutions, or at specific points this year, what did you say you were going to do but didn't do? And just go, okay, do those still things that I want to do? Or are they not? Because they might not be. Check your discipline and desire on that, and then just be like, all right, well, cool. I can beat myself up over this, or I can do something about it, right? So depression comes from the past, so you can be depressed. Well, man, here goes another year, and I said I was going to lose weight. Here goes another year, and I said I was going to, get closer to God, and I didn't. That's depression, and you should feel that because that's you not doing a darn thing. Nothing about it. And you were just like them in Haggai, who said, well, the people time said, the time has not yet come to rebuild the Lord's house. Oh, the time has come for you to get healthy. The time has come for you to get closer to the Lord. He will never not say that. Trust me. So what did you say you were going to do? And if it's still on your list, put the systems and processes in place to do it. Eliminate and delegate. You always have room to eliminate and delegate other things from your life to make those happen. Also, because you didn't make them happen, figure out why they didn't happen. And go, okay, well, why didn't they happen? Well, I got busy and all these other things. Well, then fix that problem and then put the system in place of what you're going to do about it. And make it happen. And make it happen. Start doing them. But here's the thing is that a lot of people have these big goals. I'm going to lose 100 pounds. That's a great goal. You should only be losing about 2 pounds a week at best. That doesn't mean you change that. That's just what your body will naturally do, right? So just focus on, man, I'm just focusing on this week. Technically, the Bible says, seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all of these things will be added to you. Therefore, do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will worry about itself. So like I'm saying a week at a time with the weight or something like that. Start with just the micro goals, and those things will add up. We have over 1 million followers, but you know how we got here? Because we post every single day. Every single day. Out of the past 4 years, we've probably missed 10 days. You know how many people have told me they want to grow a coaching business or they want to like start social, and then they start posting, they do it, they start hot, and then they stop. An insane amount of people. And my question would be, how's that working out for you? While we just sit here every single day. Keep plugging away. Because I knew what I said I was going to do before, and that didn't work out for me and what I wanted to do. So I've ran this system in my own life. Oh, well, okay, this is what I'm going to do. And then lastly, this is the last step, guys. What's already on your heart for next year? Do it now. So if you have these things and you're putting them into place and you're like, man, next year I'm really going to do it. Is that something that you can just do now? Like, why not? Why not? Oftentimes we say we're going to do it later for exactly this verse. The time has not yet come to rebuild the Lord's house. You're just like, I'm not really ready yet. You're never going to be ready. I'll tell you that. You're never going to be ready. But if you start, you will be closer. And whatever lesson you learn until you get to that spot, you will be ready. For so long, I wanted to be on stages, more and more stages, more and more stages, and it's starting to happen. But I'll be real with you. In the beginning, I was like, I know you got to put me out there. And I was ready in certain aspects, but my wisdom and knowledge right now is so vast that I can literally be called in and speak on anything about God, personal development, faith, all, marriage, husbands, leadership, all of that stuff. And I got it. But before I was very limited, right? So I wouldn't have been ready for multiple aspects of stages. But I was going and I was still doing and taking anything. Still now, I'm going to just outside of Cleveland next week. I'm going to preach at a church and I'm going to lead their men's event or speak at a men's event. A few weeks later, I'll be in Philadelphia leading a full-day marriage event for our church. Like, these things are just coming in now. Are they at the biggest churches and the biggest stages and all of that things? No. But I will still give them the same energy as if there were 70,000 people in the room. And I'm okay with it. And I'm just as excited about this as I would be for a massive one. But I'm going to do these things. So if you can do these things now, do them now. You'll be 3 months ahead of next year. But if you're still working on the ones from this year and you haven't been doing them and those still need to get done and they still want to get done, do that. Eliminate and delegate and make room, because ultimately you want to simplify your life, not make it crazier. So if you can't do those, don't do next year's and this year's that you haven't done all at the same time. Start with the years that you didn't do. Start them. Make headway. And if you feel like come November 1st, November 15th, December 1st, you're ready for those other ones, implement it. Don't wait for January 1st. There's a reason why they call January 10th Quitter's Day, because everybody quits by January 10th on their New Year's resolution. The first 39 years of my life, I had one word that defined my life: failure. These past 5.5 years is the complete opposite. And anybody who knows me will know two things. Number one, I am fully in love with God. Number two, I do everything I say I'm going to do. I am fully disciplined, and I'm the farthest thing from a failure. Does that mean I win at everything I do? No, but that means I will show up and give my best effort at everything I do every day to the fullest. You need to do the same. So, take these bullet points that I just told you and make them happen. Vision cast it. You have to know where you're heading. Your wife will not follow you unless you have vision of where you're going and why you are going there. But it's exciting to talk about this stuff. Like when I give Diane vision now and she gives me all like her input, we're so excited. It creates so much emotional and spiritual intimacy that by the time we get to bed, it's like, come in, we just like take over. We get after each other, I guess is what I'm trying to say. But none of that is to just get after each other. It just comes from the byproduct of like what we're watching God unfold in our life, because now we've seen so much of impossible stuff, and our kids have had a front row seat of impossible stuff. Now our clients who've been with us for a while have seen impossible stuff happen to our lives, and it's like the momentum just builds. Same thing is ready for you. So vision this all out. Go through this lesson multiple times and write these things down and make it happen. You will finish this year so strong, and by Christmas, you will give your wife the best Christmas present ever, the best version of you. And then that will start leading into her. I promise you, don't wait. I've done this coaching business, and one of the things that I've noticed from most men, they wait till the house is burnt down before they call the fire department. They wait until they had a heart attack and they're darn near going to die, and they give them three days to live to go, man, I think I'm going to start eating healthy. If you save my life, I'm going to start eating healthy. I'm going to start working out. Do it now. I'm being serious here. A high-level husband is proactive. He gets ahead of the curve. You think it's not going to be you? It will be you. I've done this long enough that all the guys say, I didn't think it was me. I didn't realize it was serious. And then the next thing happened, it is ridiculous seriously, and they're in the most amount of pain I've ever seen. But we serve a God that's bigger than that. But you got to give him something to work with. That's why I hate it when people say, God can do all of this stuff. Oh, he can, but he needs you to do your part. Do your part. Love you guys. If this has impacted your life and you want more of a coaching experience, click the link below and come into our program and be with high-level elite men. It is not free, but it is worth it. Number two, if you just want to like follow along, share this with somebody who needs to hear this. Hold people accountable. Tell people your goals and have them hold you accountable. Number three, if this benefits you, please rate it 5 stars. Give us a subscribe, a follow. It means the world to us. It really does. This is us continuing to grow. So, love y'all.